Okay, good afternoon. Right. So, welcome back to English classes. So, today morning we were looking at this short story. We are still doing this short story. Right. So, that short story, what is that? What is the short story we are doing? So, let us continue with the short story. Okay. The lost child by Mulk Raj Anand, who is the author of this short story is Mulk Raj Anand. Mulk Raj Anand. Right? Mulk Raj Anand. So, the story is about this boy, a small child, and he was going to the fair with his parents, and he looks around him and he sees the different things. Okay, he sees the people, the crowd of people. He is looking at the colorful stalls and the merry-go-round, and he sees the crowd of people in the fair, and this boy is mesmerized. The boy is stunned, the boy is surprised. Okay, and we see that this boy is distracted by the things going on around him. And I told you, his mother reminds him, now and then, mother reminds him to catch up with them. Don't be back, don't stay back. Come, child, come. The mother says, come, child, come. So she gently reminds the child to follow him or to follow her, and this boy is a very playful, innocent boy, and he stops at the sweetmeat shop, but he could not get the burfi that he likes. Then he saw the flower seller, the flower hawker, and he wanted to buy some flowers, but he couldn't buy some flowers. Then he saw a man holding balloons, right? And he wanted to go and buy some balloons, colorful balloons, but he could not buy balloons. Then finally he comes to the merry-go-round, roundabout. He comes to the roundabout, the merry-go-round, and while he is looking at the merry-go-round, and while he is wishing to go on the merry-go-round, he is calling out his parents. He calls out his parents and he wants to ask them permission to go on the merry-go-round. But he looks here and there, he is unable to find his parents. He is separated from his parents, right? He is separated from his parents. He can't find his parents. He is unable to find them. He is unable to find them, right? And he is unable to search for them. Okay, so the boy is very sad. He is crying out loudly, right? He is crying out loudly, and he is asking for his parents. He is looking for them here and there. He can't find them, and he is full of tears, full of sadness. Okay, but he is not able to find his parents. He is not able to see them in the crowd. He looks at the crowds of people and he hopes to find his parents in the crowd of people, but he is unable to find them. He is unable to find them. He is unable to search for them. A very pathetic situation for this child. A very sad situation for this child. This child, in the beginning of the story, he was very happy. He was jumping around. Okay, he was very happy with his parents. Was looking at the toys, at the crowd of people. But now we see the boy is very sad. He is in a very pathetic condition. He is missing his parents. He is unable to find his parents. Okay, so let's continue. We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. So he looked defeated. He could not find them. He could not find them. Right? And slowly his crying became slow sobs. At little distances on the green grass, he could see through his filmy eyes men and women talking. So, at the distance, through his filmy eyes full of tears, he could see people seated together on the grass, talking and laughing, right? But there was no sign of his father and mother among these people who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs. So he's running here and there. He ran through people's legs, right? He's running here and there, helter skelter. His little sob lingering, mother, father. He's crying, mother and father. Near the entrance to the temple, however, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, heavy men with flashing, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. People, very gigantic looking people. For the little boy, the people are looking gigantic, tall, hefty looking men. Right. The poor child struggled to thrust a way between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He might have been trampled underfoot had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, Father, Mother. So the child might have been trampled by these tall people, but he is moving here and there. He is going here and there, and they could have trampled him, but the boy is crying out, Father and Mother. Then suddenly something happened. A man in the surging crowd heard his cry and, stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. How did you get there, child? Whose baby are you? So a man saw this child and lifted him up and asked, whose baby are you? The man asked as he steered clear of the mass. The child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, I want my mother, I want my father. So the man lifted the child and asked him, what do you want? Why are you crying? He asked the little child. And the little child said, I want my mother, I want my father. The man tried to soothe him by taking to the roundabout. Will you have a ride on the horse? He gently asked as he approached the ring. So the man tried to calm down the boy. And he told the boy, don't cry, come on, don't worry, don't cry, why are you crying? And he took the boy to the roundabout and he asked the child, do you want to go on the roundabout? Sit on the horse. Do you want to go on the merry-go-round? The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs and he only shouted, I want my mother, I want my father. But the boy did not give a reply. The boy did not give an answer. But the boy opened his mouth and shouted loudly, and cried loudly, I want my mother, I want my father. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. Then the man took him to the snake charmer. See, all these things the boy had visited before. Yeah, we have seen in the beginning of the story, just a few minutes back, that the boy had visited all these people. And when he had visited all these people, he did not buy anything or he could not get anything. But now this man is taking the child to all these places once again and asking him, do you want this, do you want that? But the boy says, no, I don't want anything of these. I want my father and I want my mother. Right. So the man took him to the snake charmer, and the snake charmer was playing on the flute, and the cobra was swaying to the music of the flute. And he said, listen to the nice music, child, listen to the nice music. But the child shut his ears with his finger and shouted his double pitched strain, I want my mother, I want my father. But the child just closed his ears with his fingers and shouted again loudly, I want my mother, I want my father. Right. The man next took him near the balloons. Okay, next. the man again took him once again to the balloon seller. Okay, thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. Would you like a rainbow colored balloon? So he asked the child, would you like a rainbow colored balloon? He persuasively said. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. So he said, no. The child said, no, I don't want the balloons. I don't want any balloon. I just want my father and I want my mother. I want my father and I want my mother. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. So next, the man took him to the flower seller. See, even previously, the boy had gone to all these people. The child had gone to all these people when he was in a happy frame of mind, when he was a very happy boy. But now he is in a very sad, pathetic condition. And now the man is asking him, do you want balloons? Do you want to listen to the music of the snake charmer? Or do you want to go on the merry-go-round? But the child says, no, I don't want anything. So the man took him to the flower seller. Look, can you smell these nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck? So the man says, come on, come, let's go to the flower seller. Look at the flowers, beautiful flowers, colorful flowers. We shall ask for a garland, and why don't you put the garland around your neck? The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob, I want my mother, I want my father. But still the child said, no, I don't want any garland of flowers around my neck. I want my mother and I want my father. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. What sweets would you like, child? He asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. So finally, the man took the child to the sweet shop. I told you the favorite sweet of this boy was Burfi, no? You call it Burfi, okay? That was the favorite sweet of this boy. But the man took him again to the sweet shop and asked the child, you want Burfi? But the child turned his face away from the sweet shop and only cried again, I want my mother, I want my father. So that is a very sad ending for this story, okay? So like the child did not follow the instructions of his mother. The mother used to say, come on, come child, follow us, don't be distracted. But the boy was distracted and ultimately he paid the price. Ultimately he lost his parents. He was separated from his parents. And we see in the story that the boy is lost, right? The lost child. Look at this title of the story, The Lost Child, right? And this child, we don't know what happened. The story ends. The story ends here. That is the end of the story. The boy is, one stranger takes the boy to the flower seller, to snake charmer, sweet shop, merry-go-round. But the boy does not want anything of these. The boy wants father and mother. The boy wants his father and his mother. Right? The Lost Child by Mulk Raj Anand. Right. So this is the end of the short story. I have done one poetry, one prose, one poetry, one short story, and this three things and plus grammar items will come for your mid one, right? So once you come back to college, you can be ready for your mid one. I'll give you some notes and you can prepare for your examination. Don't worry about that. And you need to, once again, I want to remind you, when you write your answers, right, you need to have a proper introduction for your answer. Every answer, I would say, begin with about the author or the poet. Who is the poet? Achievements of the poet. Give some information about the poet or the prose writer. Then you begin your short story. Begin your answer, your paragraph. Begin your paragraph, 2-3 paragraphs, and then you give a conclusion for your answer. Your answer must have a conclusion. Then you are sure to get good marks. You surely will get good marks. Okay, right. So today we have just finished it, and I will go to I'll go to next poem. There's one poem, and I'll finish that. I finished two prose pieces. Okay, The Knowledge Society and Language of African Literature, and The Road Not Taken. So today I would like to finish one poem, the second poem also. The second poem is The Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. Okay, The Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. Nizam Ezekiel. Okay. Nizam Ezekiel, The Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. Now this Nizam Ezekiel is an Indian poet, and like Mulk Raj Anand, he writes about Indian society or Indian culture, and he writes about ordinary things that happen in people's lives. Okay, so in this poem, the poet is writing a poem about an incident that happened in his childhood, about an incident that happened in his childhood when he was a young boy, And Nizam Ezekiel comes under the category of Indian writers in English, under the category of Indian writers in English. So this poem is having some little bit of sarcasm, right? Some funny nature. This poem has some bit of philosophy, okay, philosophical thinking, and this poem also contains some lot of pain and hardship. What is this? This poem also concentrates on the aspect of Indian superstitions, okay, on the aspect of Indian superstitious beliefs. What is that? Superstitious beliefs, right? And these superstitious beliefs are part of our culture and tradition, Indian culture and tradition, right? And almost all of us follow these superstitious beliefs very carefully. It's like they are ingrained in our system. It's ingrained in our culture and society, right? But we have to be aware that some of these superstitious beliefs have a lot of extremities, and we need to avoid the extremities. But I don't say that we should abolish these superstitious beliefs, but because it's part of our culture, right? So we have to think very carefully before we put into practice such kind of beliefs. Okay, fine. So this poem, the night of the scorpion, is a poem by Nizim Ezekiel, where he talks about the night a scorpion had stung his mother. A scorpion had stung his mother. And this poem is also having a village rural setting, a rural background. Okay, so we need to understand that a typical village setting is there in this poem. And we see here that the mother is suffering because of the agony and the pain she is having when the scorpion stings. Okay, right. So I'll start the poem. Please try to follow carefully, try to understand. Okay, I think some of you might have done this poem in your school, in your lower classes, 8th class or 9th class, and I think some of you are familiar with this poem, Nizim Ezekiel, right? So let's start this poem. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. Okay, so the poet tells us the night, he remembers the night when his mother was stung by the scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. So it was raining heavily outside. Maybe it is the monsoon season. It is the monsoon season, and the heavy rains had driven the scorpion from outdoors to indoors. From outdoors to indoors. Maybe it had come from the garden, or it had come from outside somewhere, and it came and was hiding beneath a sack of rice. Hiding beneath a sack of rice. So, driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. Parting with his poison, flash of a diabolic tale in the dark room, he risked the rain again. So, the poet's mother must have gone to the rice sack to prepare some food or do something, and this scorpion was hiding behind the rice sack, and immediately when the mother went near the rice sack, it stung, parting with his poison. What that? Parting his poison, flash of diabolic tail. The diabolic tail, no? Have you seen the tail of the scorpion? It's like a triangle shape, no? Rectangle, like a rectangle, no? Like a triangle shape, sharp, like a trishul, no? Like a pointed, triangle shape. Okay, and he bit the mother and went back outside into the rain. Okay. Then the peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times. So immediately the village people, all the neighbors of the poet, they immediately came running into the house. Excuse me. So they came, the villagers came like swarms of flies. And what did they do? They buzzed the name of God 100 times. Buzzed the name. What do you mean by buzzing? The sound made by the bees, no? Like buzzing, buzzing sound. And buzzing means they chanted the name of God 100 times. They chanted the name of God 100 times. See, village people, the peasants, no? When we say peasants, the village people. And in a typical village setting, how the people behave or how the people react to such situations. So the peasants came like swarms of flies. Look at that meaning, swarms of flies. That means they came in huge numbers. They came in huge numbers, like swarms of flies. And buzzed, chanted. Buzzed means chanted. They chanted the name of God 100 times. How many times? 100, they're going on saying Rama, 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 Ayo, Ayo. Okay, like that. So they're going on chanting. To paralyze the evil one. To paralyze the evil one. What is this evil one? The sting of the scorpion. So these village people associated the scorpion with evil or a devil or what is that? Some kind of evil person, and it's like a superstitious belief that a scorpion stings, that means evil has come into that person. Okay, to paralyze the evil one. So what is superstitious belief here? The belief is that scorpion has bitten because evil. Okay, it's a bad omen. It's not a good sign. A scorpion stinging you is not a good sign. It is considered bad luck or some devil's. It's the work of devil. The devil has come into your body, or the Satan has entered into your body. So the peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed, chanted. Buzzed means chanted the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. With candles and with lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud baked wall. So they came with candles, they came with lanterns, and their shadow is like scorpion on the wall, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud baked wall. They search for him. They search for the scorpion. They want to chase the scorpion, or they want to hurt the scorpion. They are looking for the scorpion. They searched for him. He was not found. He was not found. They did not find him. They clicked their tongues. They made a clicking sound with the tongue. They made a clicking sound with the tongue. With every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved in mother's blood, they said. So these village people are talking superstitiously. There's nothing scientific in their way of talking, but what do they say? They say that with every movement that scorpion made, the poison moved in mother's blood. So they have to kill the scorpion, because unless they kill the scorpion, the pain will not subside in the mother's body. So they said, may he sit still. They said, may the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight, they said. So they are all talking superstitiously. They say that the mother has done sins previously, so this has happened. It has happened because mother has done some sins, and they're saying that the sins should come out from the mother's body. May be burned tonight, they said. May your sufferings decrease, the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of all evil, balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good, become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh. May the poison purify your flesh. These village people are chanting mantras, okay, or they're murmuring in their mouth that this evil thing has happened because the mother has done some bad thing. Maybe she has some evil in her, and they say in your next rebirth, in your next birth, you will have happiness in life. You will have joy in life. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said. And they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. These people, they are thinking that the mother is going to die. They think the mother is going to die. And they are gathered around the mother, the lady, and they are talking all superstitious beliefs, and they are murmuring something. And they sat on the floor around her. They sat on the floor around her, and with mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. Still, people are coming from the village. Every house they're coming in to see this lady, to visit this lady. Something has happened. More lanterns, more neighbors, and also more insects. And endless rain. The rain is also not stopping. Endless rain. The rain is not stopping. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. But these people are not taking her to doctor. Instead of calling for the doctor, instead of taking her to the medical pharmacy or clinic, they are sitting around her and they are chanting mantras and they are cursing the devil, they are cursing evil one, but no one is doing the act of taking her to the hospital or bringing a doctor, right? Because the superstitious belief is that a scorpion stings you, that means the evil in your body will come out slowly. The evil in your body will come out, will be flushed out. Will be flushed out. So this lady is twisting on the mat, shouting in pain, but no one is taking her to a doctor or no one tries to call for a doctor. But instead of doing that, they sit down around her and they are talking all superstitious beliefs. My father, skeptic, rationalist, trying every curse and blessing. See, the poet's father was a skeptic, a rationalist. He did not believe in the healing powers of God, or he did not believe in God. He was a person who was a rationalist. And suddenly we see the poet's father talking philosophically. The poet's father is talking philosophically and trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb and hybrid. His father also is doing all kinds of things. What mixture to apply on the wound? What liquid I shall give to this lady? But he even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. This fellow, the father, the poet's father, poured some kerosene on the wound and put fire to the wound. He thought that it will be healed. She will be healed. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites. But the poet is a young boy, a small boy, and when he sees this, immediately he sees like his dead body of the mother is being put on fire. He sees the holy man performing the last rites. The poet was afraid that his mother would die, and the father is doing like this. He thought maybe mother will be burnt alive. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. After 20 hours, the sting of the scorpion subsided, okay? The sting went down. Do you understand? After 20 hours, the sting finally left the mother's body. My mother only said, so after she was okay, she got up and the mother said, thank God, the scorpion picked on me and spared my children. Look at this. The mother is telling a very interesting line. Thank God, the scorpion picked on me and spared my children. See, this lady says, oh, thank God, the evil one did not touch my children. The evil one spared my children. The evil one touched me only. Thank God, my children are okay. Thank God, my children are fine. Thank God, my children have not been affected. She's happy for her children. What a kind of sacrifice, what selfless attitude a mother has, this lady has. She says finally, she suffered a lot by the sting of the scorpion. She was groaning in pain. She was struggling with pain. But we see that in the end, after she recovers, she is not cursing God or she is not cursing anybody, but she says, thank God, the scorpion picked on me and spared my children. Thank God the scorpion did not touch my children. Evil one. Scorpion is symbolism of evil. Okay, scorpion is symbolism of evil. So she says, thank God, the scorpion did not touch me. The scorpion did not affect my children. Only I was wounded, I was affected. Okay, so that is the poem, okay, The Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. Right? I hope you understood this poem, and the textbook is not there, but once we get the textbook, right, we can discuss clearly things. So I have done two prose pieces. What is that? The first prose, The Knowledge Society by APJ Abdul Kalam. I have finished The Language of African Literature by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Then the poetry, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. I have taken the poem today, Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. Night of the Scorpion by Nizam Ezekiel. And we have seen one short story, The Lost Child. What is it? We have seen one short story, The Lost Child. Right? So, I will just write it down. See, I have finished. I have done prose, the Knowledge Society, and the Language of African Literature. African Literature. Then poetry. Poetry, The Road Not Taken. The Road Not Taken, and Night of the Scorpion. Right? So then I have done this. I have done short story, The Lost Child. Okay, so I have taken this for you, The Knowledge Society, The Language of African Literature, the poem Road Not Taken, Night of the Scorpion, The Lost Child. Anyway, so once you come back to college, you can ask any doubts or clarifications, and we can again revise what we have done on these online classes. So don't worry about that. So once you get your textbook, you will have a clear idea what we should read and what we should follow. So any doubts, any clarifications, we can do it. Don't worry about that. Okay, fine. So tomorrow I will start one more lesson, short story, and then we can go into other practical aspects of the lesson. Okay, so with this, I would like to end the English class.